Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something that's probably on all our minds? AI and the future of work. That's what we're tackling today.
Then we're going straight to the source. A new IMF report. It's SDN 2024001 if you want to look it up. They really dig deep into how AI might reshape, well, everything on the job front.
Okay, so forget those robots making your coffee. This is about how AI could be impacting your job, like right now, your career even.
hmm
And yeah, your future earning potential too, no pressure.
Right. It's a lot to process, but the report kicks off with a pretty, let's say, attention-grabbing number. Nearly 40% of all jobs globally have some level of, exposure to AI.
40%, wow, that's a big chunk of the workforce.
It is.
But I'm guessing it's not like one size fits all, right? Some jobs are probably more in the line of AI fire than others.
You're absolutely right. The report makes it really clear that this exposure, it isn't distributed evenly. Advanced economies, they're the ones facing like a 60% exposure rate. Think about that. Almost two-thirds of their workforce.
So are they just more into like robots taking over or something? What makes those economies more, I don't know, vulnerable?
Not exactly. It's more about what kind of work people are doing in those economies. They
Yeah.
tend to have, way more of those jobs that are really heavy on thinking tasks, which is, well, that's where AI tends to,
Shine.
exactly. Problem solving, data analysis, all that decision-making stuff.
Okay, so countries with economies that are more, I don't know, hands-on, they've got a little breathing room, at least for now.
Yeah, for now. The report, it actually uses the UK as an example. Almost 70% of their jobs fall right into this high exposure bucket.
Okay, 70%, that's a little, I'm not going to lie, a little concerning.
hmm
But I'm hoping the report doesn't leave us hanging on that kind of cliffhanger, right?
No, no, it doesn't. This is where things get really interesting. They introduce this concept called AI complementarity.
AI complementarity. Okay, so what is that? Break it down.
Basically, instead of picturing, AI taking your job, think of it as making your job better. Like it's your new superpowered sidekick or something, helping you be more productive, way more efficient.
So not a robot replacing a surgeon, but a surgeon using AI to like do even more amazing things.
Exactly. It's about AI boosting us up, not booting us out, which honestly is a super important difference because it could mean that some jobs actually get even better in an AI world.
That makes sense, but I have to imagine some jobs are easier to complement than others,
Yep.
right? And wouldn't that, I don't know, wouldn't that make things even more unequal down the line?
Oh, you're hitting on some really important points there, and that's exactly where we're headed next.
Okay, so we've talked robots and surgeons and like global economies on the edge of, I don't know, AI revolution.
Right.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Yeah.
How might all of this actually impact you, our listener, like personally?
This is where things get really interesting, especially for, our listeners. It turns out that just by being, well, intellectually curious, by really, being interested in expanding your knowledge base, you're in a surprisingly strong position.
Wait, are you saying that being a devoted deep dive listener is a good career move in the AI age?
It could be. The report, it highlights that women, college-educated individuals, they're more likely to be in those jobs, the high exposure, high GH complementarity ones,
Okay.
and who are our
I
listeners.
mean, hopefully people who love to learn.
Right. People who like to stay informed. That bodes well.
Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about those late night deep dives into like complex topics now. But it's not all like smooth sailing from here, is it? I
Yeah.
mean, we still need to figure out how to actually work with AI.
Yeah. Having that underlying, knowledge base, those skills, it's important, but yeah, you're going to need to develop those specific AI skills too. Think of it as like adding new tools to your toolkit.
Gotcha. So no resting on our laurels, even if we are, dedicated learners. But what about people who might have a tougher time in this new landscape? The report mentioned, like older workers specifically, right?
They did. The report suggests that older workers might face, kind of some unique challenges, and it's not really about age itself, but more about, how much harder it can be to make a career transition later in life, especially when we're talking about, really rapidly changing technology.
Makes sense. Someone who's been in one field for like decades might have a tougher time switching gears than someone who's just starting out. Plus, there's that whole digital fluency thing. People who grew up with tech, they've got a bit of a head start.
For sure. And, retraining, it takes time, it takes resources, and those are things that might be, well, more limited for people who are closer to retirement.
So we've got potential winners and losers, careers changing like crazy, and a whole lot of, uncertainty. But I think the question everyone is really asking is, how does this all shake out when it comes to money? Like, does AI make the rich richer and everyone else, I don't know, not so much?
The million-dollar question, right. Well, the IMF report actually built a whole model to explore different economic scenarios, which is what we'll dive into right after this.
And we're back. All right, so before the break, we were on the edge of our seats wondering, is AI about to make those already stuffed wallets even fatter? Or will it, shake up the whole economic game as we know it?
Right, and the IMF actually gets into the nitty-gritty with like actual economic modeling, trying to game out how different AI scenarios could actually impact what's in your wallet.
Okay, so they've got a crystal ball for the AI age. I am so ready. What are these scenarios?
So their model really focuses on how AI might like tug on three main things: labor, capital, and overall productivity. Picture it like, I don't know, a three-way economic tug of war with AI in the middle.
Okay, got my mental image. Hit me with the outcomes.
All right, so scenario one, they call it low AI complementarity. Now, you might think, even with some job displacement, that this would be, great news for the folks at the top. Not so fast. This scenario could actually lead to, get this, a reduction in income inequality.
Really, that's not what I expected at all. Why would low AI complementarity mean less inequality?
It's about who takes the hit. In this scenario, it's those high-level, high-paying jobs, the ones that are all about those thinking tasks we talked about. Those are the ones that might be the most exposed to AI, at least initially, and maybe not as easily complemented.
Wow, so the people who might assume they're, like, untouchable because they've got the fancy jobs and the big salaries, they might actually be the most vulnerable, at least in the short term.
It's a fascinating kind of flip, right? But then we go to scenario two, high AI complementarity. And this is where things, they shift again.
Okay, AI whiplash, I'm getting it. So what happens when AI gets really good at being our, work best friend?
Well, in this scenario, it's those same high earners, the ones whose jobs get supercharged by AI, they benefit the most. It's like AI gives them a rocket booster while others are trying to, I don't know, hitch a ride. And so, yeah, the income gap, it widens.
Okay, so the very thing they could lead to, amazing advancements, like surgeons using AI-assisted tools to do these incredibly precise surgeries, that could also make economic inequality even worse. Talk about a paradox, right?
It is. But there's one more scenario to consider. Scenario three. High AI complementarity again, but this time with high overall productivity. And here, incomes actually increase across the board because AI is making the entire economic pie bigger.
So everyone wins, even if some are winning, way more than others.
Exactly. Everyone's getting a bigger slice, even if the gap between the biggest and smallest slices is still there. But here's the really important part. None of these scenarios are a given. We actually get a say in this.
Okay, so we're not just along for the ride.
Mm.
What can we actually do to, steer things in a more, equitable direction?
Government policies, they play a huge role in how this all shakes out, especially when it comes to, things like AI property rights, how wealth is redistributed, that kind of thing. It gets complicated, but the point is we have to make sure the benefits of AI are shared, with everyone.
That's a great point to, I think, wrap things up on. It's a lot to think about.
It really is.
From those robots making coffee to, the very real ways AI could reshape our world. And
Yep.
not always, in a good way if we're not careful.
You got it. This isn't some far-off thing. It's happening right now.
It is.
And
So as we all try to navigate this, totally uncharted territory, what can our listeners be doing, right now to get ready for an AI-driven future?
it's all about, being willing to adapt, to keep learning. What skills can you develop? What kind of future do you want, for yourself, for all of us?
Those are such great questions to be asking. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into AI and the future of work. Big thanks to our expert for, really breaking it all down. Until next time, everyone, stay curious.